Welcome. And ever since we've been introduced to the Emperor Palpatine, Star Wars fans have heard about his return to the Rise of Skywalker and has jumped the shark once again and decided that this is the perfect excitement people were looking for. They were jumping up and down as he was one of the most iconic characters in the film. But since The Last Jedi was slated to come out and all of these different things being brought to the forefront, the handling of Palpatine and all these so-called experts who have seen the script from Disney, they know all of these different secrets and go around spreading lies just for clicks and bait. They want you to believe they know how this film's going to end. There's rewrites, there's reshoots, all of these things that are happening that are completely lies. Lies, lies, lies. They have been lying on this film to try to hurt it. And some are lying on the film just for their own personal whatever. Now, with that being said, The Rise of Skywalker will be an epic film, but we don't want to see the Emperor wasted, meaning that this guy is iconic to Star Wars lore. Just to bring him back to finish him off, it kind of like makes it kind of empty, but the fact that he was never really finished off to begin with makes it a more compelling story. That he's the ominous presence that has been around. Now, we all could have theories on what the script is going to be, but to sit there and tell people that there was some sort of, they're doing reshoots, people walked out in the middle of the test screening after seeing the ending. After a movie ends, you're supposed to walk out. They did not test screen a Star Wars film. When would they ever test screen a Star Wars movie? They're not going to test screen a Star Wars film. Star Wars will never be test screened. The only people that will be watching that film would be the people who are creating it. They would not risk a leak to the general public of something this epic. Yes, there are so many scripts, and they do this on purpose. Star Wars make these type of things to throw you off the trail and off the scent. Now, here is where the Emperor is supposedly falls down an energy shaft, but now they're going to make it as if he created a force portal and took himself through it. People complained about Luke drinking green milk again. Well, it's a search from the beginning and back around full circle. The story of Anakin, all of it's going to come to an end. So this is going to condense a lot of information. The only problem with Return of the Jedi, I mean Revenge of the Sith, is that they had to condense so much in a 3-hour film, which made it more diluted, and you lost some key things like the start of the rebellion. Well, the Emperor's behind all of this, and you come to find out Anakin was just basically another tool that was used by the Emperor. The Return of the Jedi is probably one of the most misunderstood Star Wars films of all time. And all we really saw was the rise of Palpatine. And how he became the Emperor. Oh, thank you for your Cash App donation, Intelligence Cycle. People have done a lot of damage to the Star Wars brand, because, and to show you how it works, people were so excited when the trailer dropped, and now you hear people's whole attitude change once they say, oh, this is such and such, they're doing retakes, people are walking out, the ending is terrible. They've seen all these videos people are doing for clickbait. It's affecting people's minds. Now the people who were excited to go see it is like, this is going to be terrible. You're seeing, I'm like, what do you mean? Star Wars hasn't put anything out yet. You were excited to see it before. Now, because some guys who have nothing to do with the film whatsoever is telling you it's bad, now it's bad? They did the same thing to The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was probably one of the most creative Star Wars films ever made. Totally different. And it threw everyone off. I love the risks they took, and I love the direction it went in. This film is always going to come down to the ending. They didn't film any new scenes. So anybody telling you that Star Wars is filming new scenes, they are not. They were not. All of those things were already done. They have enough already in Star Wars lore. So they don't need anything more. The Emperor has always been a synonymous name with Star Wars. Period. It's always been about him. And as we see more and more with Star Wars, it's more about Palpatine. we wouldn't know too much of diddly squat about the Emperor if it wasn't for the prequels. And what we saw was the rise. We supposed to saw the rise of Darth Vader. We saw the rise of Palpatine and how he became the Emperor. But I don't know if these are Avenger fans that are starting this sabotage of the Star Wars saga. Who knows? But all of these rumors that the ending is terrible and people are walking out, it's the same thing that happened with The Last Jedi. To sabotage the movie, to stop people from going back and programming people's minds to create a narrative that doesn't even exist. So now when they watch the movie, they're already pre-programmed to say it's terrible. Well, Palpatine is a character you don't want to screw up. As this has been about him, bringing him back is what brought a lot of people like joy to know that the Emperor will be in this film in some capacity. We don't know. We are assuming that he's in the physical form. So this is where, we want to come to full circle with the dark side of the Force. Now, the problem I have with this is that Rey said at the Star Wars celebration I was at, she said out of her mouth that she did not read the books. So the Jedi books she got don't really mean anything. She took them and they don't really mean nothing. She didn't read them. So it's over a year. This takes place a year after The Last Jedi. So in case you guys didn't know, these are facts I'm telling you. Rey did not read the books. This takes place a year after this. How in the world is she going to be able to beat the Emperor? Who no doubt has gotten even darker with the Force. Did he become really weak? Now, from what we heard, right there, that blue light we see is the Emperor actually using a portal and taking himself to another planet through the galaxy. Wow, Intelligence Cycle, thank you. I did not expect that. And welcome, you are now a moderator. You have earned it. Well, there are a lot of key factors in Star Wars that a lot of people don't recognize or realize. When this film was made, going in the direction of Luke and Leia having been trained, in which they're going to use that by George Lucas, that Luke actually taught Leia how to use a lightsaber, and that we'll actually see that scene of a young Luke teaching a young Leia how to use, how to use a lightsaber. We will see that. Well, Disney bought the George Lucas collection. Like, Lucas had just scribbled down notes and basically a script on three films continuing beforehand, because he thought about doing it and continuing the Star Wars saga somewhere down the line. But George has a lot of money and a lot of focus in other areas. Plus, the way people perceive the prequels and the birth of the internet made him not want to do it, because people weren't appreciating the work that was put into the prequels. And what was weird is that when people went and saw the movie, they loved it. And then once they got on the internet and realized they hated it. Well, that's why I can watch these people and not be motivated to go left or right. I can pretty much judge for myself if the movie is good or not. The only thing about The Last Jedi was the pacing. I mean, not The Last Jedi, but Revenge of the Sith. It had too much to cover in very little time, and I think they did the best they could, but it was too much vast material and steps they had to go to, that Attack of the Clones took the slow route of getting us there. Because Phantom Menace, because they cared about merchandising and toys, they made Anakin too small and kept him too small too long in that film. And the first film really didn't set up what was going on in the second. They kept him small for the entire film, which I thought they should have aged him up and sped up a little bit to where it would look like, okay, him and Queen Amidala is going to hook up, and that's going to eventually be his wife. Instead of having her look like his mom or big sister early on in the film. With we don't want to see this little kid with this teenager. So that's where we are right now. Now, in Lucas scribbled notes, he was going to have Luke teaching a school of Jedi and teaching Leia's twins. Leia having two twins. That was the original script and the notes that he had written down. That Leia had twins, a boy and a girl, and they were being taught by Luke. Luke was running a school for the arts, but the more Luke pushed for knowledge of the Force, he was often tempted by the dark side. He was being pulled by the dark side. And he didn't know if it was the dark side, and he thought that was weird that would happen because of the fact that he just killed the Emperor. So why would the dark side still be pulling at him? So he begins to investigate what is happening to him. But it's not him, it's the Wilts, the one that actually controls and wields the Force. They're being controlled by a like intergalactic immortal beings called the Wilts. And the wilts are the ones that will the force, and the wilts are the ones that are pulling, and they're like pulling and yanking the threads behind the scenes that ultimately leads Luke into becoming the new Darth Vader over time. Luke and Leia's twins are now teenagers, and they want to go and rescue Luke and turn him back to the light the same way Luke did his father. Exactly. The same story. That's all I was going to get to the point of telling you. George Lucas wrote the same story, just new characters, same story. So that thing with Luke and Leia, I mean, Princess Leia and Han Solo having twins, and the two twins, they go to the Jedi Academy, and Luke gets pulled into this intergalactic thing with the Wilts. It's just that the only thing is different is that the Emperor has been replaced by the Wilts, and Luke is trying to find the Wilts. They're pulling him towards the dark side. He joins, and things go haywire from there. In the original trilogy, many of you probably don't know, I don't like change. Many of you probably don't know, but I gotta tell you anyway. In the original trilogy, George Lucas was gonna make Leia and Luke at the end of Jedi join the dark side. He was gonna put both of them on the dark side. The Emperor is gonna corrupt both of them to join the dark side and kill their father, Darth Vader, as that was the only way I don't like change. No, they saw that as the only way they could beat the Emperor. And they were going to have the Luke come back in the spirit, not Luke, but Obi-Wan and Yoda reflect the lightning that was thrown at Luke once he decided to turn against the Emperor. So Luke and Leia both were supposed to fight the Emperor together, brother and sister. Then when that didn't work, Yoda and Luke came in there to repel the lightning back at the Emperor, knocking him backwards. And from that point on, things went to a whole nother direction. They were able to kill the Emperor and bring balance to the Force, as they were on the dark side for only a short period of time. So please don't fall for a lot of these. This is the script, this is the script, this is the script. Plot twist. This is going to happen. We've seen this happen before. Just don't fall for it. It's all an act. It's not real. And it's a shame. But it's completely, completely a farce. Well, this happened about a couple weeks ago when they said, oh, the rumors of the ending has leaked. Well, some of it did leak. Some photos leaked, and people went and made their assessments to it. And most of this is people who were fired. It's a lot of people who have been fired or their script wasn't picked up. Meaning that there are a lot of endings that they tried. They filmed a lot of different ways the film should end and decided to have a test screen with the people that make the film. Lucasfilms, Disney reps, nobody from any movie place, people there who work there who are sworn by secrecy. I mean, there's so many tight NDAs. So they just pick up stuff out of blog rooms. Some are right. They got some people who are disgruntled who used to work there. There's a lot of people that was fired from The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and you saw what they did. And this is why when Lucas ran the ship, these type of things never happened. You know why? Because Lucas himself would feed these guys fake stories to get them out of his way. That was one of the key factors in dealing with him, is that he knew how to make a fake whatever he needed to make and get out of there. In the early drafts for Darth Maul, I'm going to tell you guys right now so that you guys would know. Here in Chicago, in the suburbs where I live, there is a art print shop that works for small to big businesses here in Chicago that handles, they do poster boards, artwork, designs. That's what the company does. It's in Northbrook. It's not a real big company. George Lucas knows the guy who owns the place. The guy built the telescope for George Lucas and put it on Skywalker Ranch. That's how much, close him and George Lucas is. So George Lucas spent a lot of time here in Chicago. And not only that, this is going to get even more deeper for you. When he was doing The Phantom Menace, episode 1, no one could get the artwork for the film. All the big major companies, they always found a way to leak the information. Remember, the last time he did a Star Wars movie, he went through a massive, massive rehaul of changing Revenge of the Jedi to Return of the Jedi because of everybody trying to steal the property so that they can make their toys and get it out to the public. So when they were trying to get the poster, the artwork to know who the villain was, how he was going to look, and, certain scenes, they couldn't get it. They could not get it. And the reason why is that every major company that Hollywood would use and the studios would use, George didn't use. He used this little small company. I mean, really small. They have like 3 doors, 3 rooms in this little office space. And one room had to be exclusively for Star Wars. And that room isn't bigger than my bedroom upstairs. They handled all of the artwork that went out for Star Wars Phantom Menace. Everything. The posters, all of it. And they did it to perfection. You didn't know that. And I also know some very key information. George Lucas had a fake script made of the film that was going to have Qui-Gon Jinn cutting off the arms of Darth Maul in a sword fight. They were not going to fight there. They were going to fight in the desert on Tatooine, where Darth Maul would survive but lose both of his arms in a lightsaber duel with Qui-Gon Jinn. And Qui-Gon and Anakin and Obi-Wan was going to continue into episode 2. This was a farce. This fake script that was leaked out to the public was created to be the distraction, to confuse people so that they would not know the ending of the film. He wanted that information leaked out so that people would have it. These are the type of things Lucas did to throw people off the scent. In the Attack of the Clones, people thought the Darth Vader outfit was going to be in the movie. He was going to get the costume in Attack of the Clones. This is when he becomes Darth Vader. They had some guy walk around and had a Darth Vader costume on the set. They let a picture leak out to a magazine, and people start going crazy over the fact that this is happening. It backfired because when people didn't see that, they were angered. So, I've talked long enough. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for your time, and I'll definitely thank you for your super chat donations. I appreciate it. All the love and support.